Vibrant Visuals was added to the game to make everything look better, but as you may know, I've managed to push things in a whole other direction, and today I may have pushed things even further because you can now protect any base with only light and shadows using Vibrant Visuals. This is genuinely really cool, so let's sit back in Minecraft. It feels good to be back here on my creative testing world. I've got some ideas, and I want to try and get back into playing with Vibrant Visuals because there's still so many cool things, which I think are still to be discovered. Now, I've managed to do some really cool things with Vibrant Visuals, such as my working projector. I kind of want to use this technology to try and defend a base somehow. I'm basically thinking if we try and make a brick wall kind of like this, and you can see me on the brick wall, and then we make this a little bigger, and then using the shadows that can be cast on that wall, we can try and make something scary. Now, that is not scary, you know exactly what that is, but what if we can try and trick the centers and, you know, make something which is much more terrifying than an armor stand? If we place a pressure plate there, we can try and connect some kind of redstone to this, especially when we get some note blocks, and then maybe a creeper head and a dragon head as well. And then of course in the actual design this will be hidden, but run it into a creeper head, and then with a little delay run it into a dragon head like that. So when you walk over, you're going to hear like a creeper, and then that deafening sound that is insanely loud. And then who knows, we could make this guy maybe drop from the ceiling, maybe something kind of like that, and then we bring the redstone down the side and then up it, so when we walk on that we'll hear and then we'll see the guy drop down. That is really not very good. We could definitely do better than that. Now I'm going to try and create a sort of cave shape, and I'm thinking probably something just kind of like this, and then the cave will follow this kind of shape as well, and then the wall itself could be probably right here, and then this will be the cutout for the screen and where it's going to get projected basically. We make that as big as we want, and then we don't really have to worry about around here because no one's going to see it because they're going to be absolutely terrified. And thank you very much for getting the channel to nearly 43,000 subscribers. That is crazy. We're nearly at 50,000, which is just mind-boggling. Thank you all so much. Like, it really is so very much appreciated. And thank you as well to the channel members still sticking around supporting me. That's really appreciated as well. But if we try and build up this cave shape, maybe something like this, and then this can be the main sort of curve because a cave is really curvy. That's way too symmetric. Look at that. That looks really cool, but that's way too symmetrical. You can even have something like that as well. And look at how the shadows look on that cave wall. They're so dark. They look really, really good. And then again, we can just basically build this up kind of like that and connect it as well. And the fact that it's a cave, we can hide the redstone so well. This looks really cool, but you can see exactly what's going on here. So we need to try and stop the light from coming through, and then at a moment's notice, make the light appear. That's going to be really tough, especially when I'm, you know, I am not the best at redstone. I really appreciate the lovely comments I get, but I am not the best with redstone. I will say that in the last video, I did look at Minecraft's forgotten technology, which is basically sandstone? Sand redstone? I'm not sure. But it basically just used sand and signs, and how at a moment's notice you can basically drop an entire wall of sand and then reveal what's behind it. So I wonder if this is going to work as well as I'm kind of hoping it will. But this looks perfect just now. And then if we maybe we get some pressure plates probably right there, and then connect some redstone underneath it like that, and then a repeater with a delay which will basically break these signs, and so that when we walk over here, look at that. Now, we could definitely play with the delay of that. Make sure there's no delay whatsoever. That worked incredibly well. Now, of course, if you were making this in survival, well, first of all, you need the sun to stop moving. But for an adventure map, that's really cool. And of course, you could use command blocks to replace that all back. But if we're walking in like this, then all of a sudden, that just drops. That is so cool. We could definitely play with the delay, make that a lot better, but yeah, that is really cool. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that Vibrant Visuals will only cast a shadow against solid blocks. That means if we place some glass there, you can see the glass is actually there, but we could place pressure plates and they're just floating. There's nothing there. I mean, that's actually really cool. And it works with redstone as well. I mean, even that kind of looks like a pair of eyes. If we get another one there, oh, well, that one certainly doesn't, but when we look at that, that's just like a little speck. That's weird. But I'm thinking we'll use some glass. I'm going to place them kind of like that. And again, I want to take advantage of the sign trick. But if we use that same trick, we can run some more redstone along this way. And then I basically want to run the redstone all the way up the side. And in fact, we could use basically a redstone torch tower for this, because I want to try and make something really scary. I don't just mean something that's kind of scary. I want something to terrify someone. And what's scarier than the wither? And so I'm basically going to get 3 pistons set up like that. And then probably another piston there as well. And we'll get some glass. I'm going to get a big tower of sand up like that. And then same with this side as well. And I basically want the pistons to just push off some sand. And then it should line up with the mold that we've got there. I think this will work. I'm not exactly sure, but let's add a bit of a delay. And you know what? Whilst we're here as well, let's also add in a dragon explosion sound. And then when we walk over, it's going to be so loud. And then, oh, that's so close. Nearly. It did work, but we need this 1 block higher, so it's kind of on the wall. But that was really cool. Like that. That's what we need. Okay, let's do that again. But as we're walking over these, we can hear so much noise. That drops down, and then the wither is there. That is really cool. Again, I am going to play with the timing because I want the wither to appear shortly after rather than immediately. Oh, I keep forgetting about these signs. That's the only problem with this redstone trick. But look at that. The wither just appears. That is really cool. Now we need to try and get some wither skulls on that. How do we do that? Because the skull themselves doesn't cast a shadow. Okay. Wait, that is kind of really throwing a spanner. Oh, well, it does there, but not up here. Oh, look at that. It's one of these blocks where it needs to be in your vision. Even though it's behind this wall, it's still technically in our vision. That's weird. Okay, that could really mess things up. Something as well, we need to try and make, well, we can't really use the skulls, but we need something to appear after the sand, and that's tricky. I am thinking, do armor stands? If we have 3 back here, I mean, you can see them. We can try and pose them to hide in their arms as well, but you can see the feet plate down the bottom. That's a bit weird. But if we get some skulls, are these gonna show up? Oh, they do. Okay, that's cool. And even from here, they show up, but they just look weird. That's the only problem. They just look weird. Now, I'm thinking we could try and push this back even further. Maybe back to here. And then placing the skulls. Does that look... I mean, the skulls are lining up a lot better. I mean, that is pretty perfect. We can try and make this cave look a little bit better like that. A little more symmetrical so we can see everything. That is looking really good. Apart from the armor stand. But we could just... Why don't we get some slime blocks? Because slime blocks can, of course, stick to things. And then they also do not cast a shadow as well. So we could get a piston. Place that probably right there. In fact, let's place a piston probably there. And there's a reason for that. Because if we've got our armor stands here, if we place a lever there, we can push this whole thing back, which we could then use to essentially launch the armor stands up. I think that's a really cool way to do it. Because of the slime blocks, there's no way that we can even see anything. And so we basically disconnect everything. We want to get those repeaters on something that slime blocks can't move. So some glazed terracotta like that. Armor stands there, and they cannot be seen, which is really good. We then place that button, launch them up, bring that back, and if my timing was better, that would have worked. But we can get some glass as well, just to aid in the lining up. Of course, the glass is not going to stick. We place in our armor stands, press the button, and then pull that back. And look at that. That way, when we've got the wither basically assembled, we can get the skulls on. They're going to be already on. We have got a perfect wither. All we need is to turn these guys invisible, which I mean, we could do so simply just down here. So coming off of this, where the redstone line ends, we want a little delay, probably around that much. And then that can then go down here, connect up with that piston. And then we also want it probably, in fact, on a little delay there, dispense the armor stands first and then launch them up. Meanwhile, here, there's already going to be a torch lighting up. Wow, that launched me back, which we can then just turn off whenever we need. And we could also run that into a pulse extender as well. This is really coming together. So let's get that built up just like that. A little bit longer as well. And then if we place in our armor stands, get these guys with their heads on, and then it doesn't matter because they're going to be hidden, but we might as well pose them. We got our signs in place. We can then return the gravel. What? There we go. Return the gravel. That was weird. And then when we walk on this pressure plate, we hear so many noises. Oh, why? What? Oh, man, I've completely messed that up. And they didn't even turn invisible. Is that not reaching? Is that the... Oh, what? Why is that triggering? Oh, that's weird. I mean, it worked now. But we also need a much longer pulse extender because that is simply just not enough. And we can actually do that so much easier just by getting in some comparators like that. Redirecting that redstone. Probably, I think, to another pulse extender. I think that's the best way to do it, which we can then run into this big main pulse extender using another one. Now, sadly, this does not play wither sounds, but does play skeleton sounds, which we could definitely use to advantage. Probably get something like this. So it's kind of like 3 skeletons appearing. I think that's quite a cool way to do it. But imagine you're out exploring, you hear all these noises, and then you just witness that appear. That is really cool. Now, if that doesn't scare you, we need something that will. And I think I've got just the thing sitting around the corner. I mean, who knows what this little guy's capable of? He's coming towards us. Thank you very much for watching. It really is appreciated. It really is appreciated.